Hey everyone, welcome to the third episode here of RJ Talks. As you know, my name is Ricardo.
I'm Jose. Another busy week in the NFL with DeShaun Watson being traded to the Cleveland Browns coming off of the bench, Von Miller getting traded to the Buffalo Bills and making all the Bills while doing so, and lastly, the very famous Arizona Cardinals. Are they destined to fail or not next year? Welcome back to RJ Talks. And we're back. DeShaun Watson being traded from the Houston Texans to the Cleveland Browns. What do you think about this, Ricardo?
Well, it is definitely a huge move for the NFL. It is something that has changed this AFC powerhouses from the AFC North. And it is the big competition for Joe Burrow, let me tell you. But before we get into the specifics as far as how it'll affect the team's future on, as far as this year, let's be realistic, the 5 years that Deshaun is under contract for them.
Yep.
So why did DeShaun Watson choose to leave his situation? Now, it's going to go without saying, but I'm going to reiterate it for you guys. We are not here to talk about any legal issues that he's facing right now. We're just mainly focused talking about the football aspect and the coaching aspect and anything that has to do with football.
Right.
Okay? So we're going to say this once at the beginning because we don't want to keep going back to it during our conversation. Now, with that being said, Houston was a poorly run franchise. That's pretty much, let's get the bottom line to it. Now, with Bill O'Brien, he ran a vertical style offense, naturally, with DeAndre Hopkins leading the way. The problem is they couldn't find a consistent O-line and running game for DeShaun Watson and him. Now, you and I were just talking about it right now. He was facing some issues with his stats as far as interceptions. Now, you can go over the stats right now, Jose, but really quickly I'll just go over it, is that he was under duress a lot of his time in Houston.
Right.
And did just no running game. And as we talked about before, no running game, no balance, no good offense. I don't care how good of a scheme it is.
Or how good of a quarterback you have.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, so it just doesn't matter when it comes to that situation. But it really would change the whole perspective for DeShaun Watson because he signed a new contract with Houston before he sat down this year.
Right.
When Bill O'Brien made the genius move to trade DeAndre Hopkins for a fourth rounder and David Johnson, that's really what changed the ball game for everyone because I don't have to explain too much on it. DeAndre Hopkins is an all-pro. In my opinion, he's the best receiver in the league. Everyone's going to say Devontae Adams. I think D-Hop is better. When he traded him away, it was doomed to fail. How could you ask DeShaun Watson to leave his number one target and not try to win? It's very reminiscent of what's going on in a certain franchise with the Seattle Seahawks that are just giving players away.
Not just players, but future Hall of Famers for sure.
So that kind of instability in the front office with Bill O'Brien, he let his ego get out of control. That's just what it was. He did not like some stuff about DeAndre Hopkins. Mm-hmm. D-Hop pushed him on it, and he forced D-Hop out because naturally, in a football sense, you don't do that. You don't see Bill Walsh trading Jerry Rice for whatever reason. You didn't you don't see the Steelers getting rid of Lynn Swann, Terry Bradshaw's number one target. Right. You just don't see that. You don't see the Cowboys getting rid of Michael Irvin because he doesn't get along with the GM. That's just Bill O'Brien's ego out of control, and that's what changed the whole situation in Houston and what ultimately had DeShaun Watson saying, I want out of here now. I am going to sit or take me out of here. So that is part of the reasons why he sat out for the 2021 season. Now, he could get suspended. We have discussed about this. He could get suspended for next year.
He could, and the reason for that would be his allegations.
Yes.
Right? The allegations that have been released. Like Ricardo said at the very beginning, I just wanted to reiterate this, or I just wanted to make this very clear. Our podcast is purely about the sport of football.
Yes, sir.
And how the players work within that setting. Even the business side of things, the GMs as well as the coaching staff.
Front office.
The front office the front office as well as the coaching staff. Mm-hmm. We just want to talk mainly about that. We're not going to get into allegations. We're never going to be talking about any social issues that may be surrounding each one of the players. That's just not what this podcast is for. So we really wanted to make that clear from the very beginning. Now, he may be
benched because of this.
Correct.
Or not even benched, yes. Suspended, that may be
Yes.
what it's headed towards.
Correct.
Now, moving on
Yes.
into Deshaun Watson's stats. All right, so I have these in front of me. In 2017, he threw for 1,699 yards for a completion percentage of 61.8, 19 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, and a passer rating of 130. And despite all of those interceptions, the fact that he was able to reach a rating of 103 on the passer rating scale really does tell you how good of a quarterback he is.
And he did get hurt that year as well.
And he did.
That's why there's only 7 games of statistics in front of us, and that's why it's looks like mediocre stats for a season, but it's
Right.
just 7 games.
Right, and I was about to say it does look very low for any professional quarterback. So
I mean, it may be this draft class, not maybe.
that might be, and we've already talked about that in episode 1. That was a fun segment for the two of us. Another thing is his future stats. His future stats seem to improve quite a bit. So we have 2018 a passer completion percentage of 68.3, 4,165 yards, 26 TDs, 9 interceptions, and a passer rating of 0.1 above his rookie season. 67.3% in 2019, and then 70.2 in 2020. So we're obviously very much seeing a steady rise in his abilities.
Yes.
If he continues to improve like this, that'll definitely set him up for success in the Cleveland Browns franchise. What's very interesting about the Cleveland Browns too is that they are a rare offensive team.
Yes.
Right? They are very much a ground and pound team.
Yes.
And that's what Stefanski, right? That's what Stefanski was setting up from the very beginning.
Absolutely.
Yeah, his first year, the man was transcendent. I mean, as a head coach, you don't see very many rookie head coach seasons like this.
To get into the divisional round of the playoffs for your first year, like that's just great. He won his first playoff game too.
The Cleveland Browns.
as a rookie head coach.
For the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, man.
Who went 0-16 in 2016.
Yep.
They didn't win a single game that year, which is arguably just as impressive as going undefeated.
Yeah, no, that is very impressive. Like I'm telling you guys, it might not seem like it's possible, but it's very, very hard to not win a game in this league. You're gonna get gimmies sometimes from other teams. Like if you're a professional and you try, you're gonna get some gimmies. It's very hard to lose all the games in a season. Now, Cleveland. Let's just be honest and face the facts. Baker Mayfield was a scrub. He was a scrub. He could not lead that team to the playoffs. You and I talked about this in the offseason before it started.
Right.
We both talked about Cleveland being the potential team to beat the Chiefs. We had no idea about the Bengals because nobody did. So before you guys say anything, nobody thought anything about the Bengals. They were just a surprise of the year. They had the most complete offense by far.
Yes.
The most complete defense, with only weaknesses in the middle linebacker spot, but their secondary was solid. Now, Baker had that team given to him, and he couldn't get anything done with it.
The biggest problem with Baker Mayfield that I've noticed quite a bit is his incapacity to read the defenses fast enough.
Yes.
His offense, as you said, was very well set up for him, but he just didn't know how to use it. It's like a kid with a screwdriver. They don't know how to do that. Nobody's taught them how to do that. But in Baker's case, people have tried to teach him how to do it, but it doesn't seem like he wants to improve. He panics. Once the pressure's on him, or even if the pressure isn't on him, he panics.
He's one of those QBs, dude, that we know everything has to be perfect. You can't have an injury on the O-line.
Exactly.
They have to have a complete running game. This day has to go well for them. That does not happen in real life NFL football on game days. Especially in the playoffs.
You have to accept the fact that you are going to have bad days as any athlete in any position ever.
And that's what quarterbacks are there for.
Yeah, exactly. And those are the people that make or break the football game, are the quarterbacks. You can have every other position absolutely stacked. You can have every other every other person on your coaching staff be top
tier coaches in Kevin Stefanski. But if your quarterback cannot get it done, we were having this discussion earlier today. You can't coach a mindset.
No, you cannot.
You cannot coach a mindset. You can't coach somebody out of their nerves. They need to accept the fact that they are getting nervous, that they are nervous under pressure, and they need to learn how to work around that. They can't simply just brush it off and say, oh, you know what, it's not going to be there because I got all these guys around me. All these guys will support me. They got my back. It's like, yeah, they have your back, but you got to deliver for them. You have to do that too. It's a two-way street, my friend.
It has to be.
That's how it works.
It's my time. I got this.
Exactly.
When the pressure's there, it's like, don't worry, guys. I got this.
It's like, I'm good.
That's where that confidence is important in those situations. Like, no sweat. No sweat. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. The focus has to not be so much inward. It has to be outward. You need to be aware of what's happening around you, especially in those clutch moments, in those moments that challenge you to be clutch. So that's the biggest thing, the biggest difference between Baker Mayfield and DeShaun Watson. DeShaun Watson, despite not having DeAndre Hopkins, has been able to deliver these numbers. He's been able to, just the numbers alone, and he has actually been able to put himself in a position to where he is constantly challenged, like somebody, like a young quarterback we know in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
He is constantly under that pressure, but yet he still delivers. He is still a leader of the team because he is so much aware of what's happening around him, and he accepts the fact that these things are happening around him, and he goes, you know what, guys? I got this. It's all right.
That season,
we're good.
That season, man, everybody was shocked at how great he was performing because he had no names at receivers. I could not name a single one off you right off the top of my head if I could. The only one is Will Fuller, and he gets hurt every fifth game in the season. So that 2020 season that he had, one for the ages for him. He almost threw 5,000 yards with 70% completion percentage.
It's incredible.
They did have a bad record, but it takes the team to win, and that goes into the frustration that he had with the front office because they weren't doing what it took to win. You get rid of DeAndre Hopkins, and then you're getting rid of J.J. Watt, leader of the defense, leader of the franchise, leader of Houston.
Right.
Like, it's not going the direction that he wants, and the man clearly wants to win, okay? He went to 2 national championships in college against Alabama. He won the last one there. He lost his first one there by 7 points. His special teams gave up a return touchdown to Alabama.
Yeah.
So he wants to win. I've seen it. I've seen him do it in the college level. He's in the pro level as a franchise quarterback. He clearly wants to win. Now, he has the opportunity to do it with Cleveland. I think it will take some time because he's going to have rust for not playing for a year. He's in a new system. But the good news is when you have Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb as your running backs, you got a hell of a security blanket to rely on, dude. You got those two. They got Amari Cooper. He's so inconsistent. I don't... one game it's 150 yards for 10 catches. The other game it's 4 catches for 9 yards.
Yeah.
So him, I'm just whatever about. But I've seen DeShaun Watson work better with less at receiver. We saw it happen with Houston.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
So he definitely has the opportunity to lead this team. In 2019 with Houston, they made it to the divisional round and lost to the Super Bowl champion Chiefs. It happened.
They did.
It just happened.
They did. It's like the Cincinnati Bengals going to the Super Bowl back in the 80s and just getting beat out by Joe Montana.
Exactly.
2 times. 2 times they did that.
By 2 game-winning drives.
Yeah, exactly. By 2 game-winning drives. So it's not like they didn't put up a fight to do so.
Exactly.
Now, what's very interesting here is that the 2019 Texans, with DeShaun Watson at the helm, you had a 67.3% completion percentage. He threw for 3,852 yards, 26 touchdowns, and 12 interceptions. Passer rating of 98, his lowest of his career.
Yeah.
Right? But those interceptions really brought him down.
Yes.
The next year, he cut that interception number nearly in half with 7 interceptions, 33 touchdowns, 4,823 yards, and 70.2% completion percentage. DeShaun Watson, just going off of the numbers alone, these are just numbers, but they could tell you quite a bit depending on the context in which you're actually looking at them.
Yes.
Just based off of this, and given the time that he's been in the league, I agree with you. He definitely wants to win. So once you put him around people in Cleveland, people that also want to win, these top-tier hands, these top-tier feet, in the running backs. There's no telling what he might do. He also, hearkening back to Russell Wilson,
Yes.
going to Denver, it's going to be a change.
Yes.
It's definitely going to be a change as far as the offensive scheme goes.
Yes.
They aren't going to be shooting it down the field like they usually do. Cleveland is one of, if not the only, ground and pound, old school offense that we see in the NFL.
and they have one of the best O-lines in the league.
Yes, they do.
Still to this day.
So not only does he have powerhouse feet behind him, but he also has good protection.
Yep. And he's mobile.
And he's mobile as well.
Yeah.
So as far as I can tell, DeShaun Watson is going to have a bit of a learning curve, but it's not going to be very steep. And I compare his growth and his change to Russell Wilson's as well. Because Denver and Cleveland, they show some similarities in their offensive play calling. In the run first, pass next, run first, pass next. Yeah. Although Cleveland does run it a bit more than what
Denver at the moment has better receivers than Cleveland does at this time.
Yes, they do.
So that's one of the main differences, and that's why I said, like, it's not going to be automatic. Like, these people that expect, like, yeah, we're going to win the Super Bowl next year, that isn't how it works. It takes time to develop chemistry.
Yeah, it does.
And it need that experience in that mindset. Now, if DeShaun Watson is suspended, let's say 4 games minimum,
yeah,
and if he goes in and they win the Super Bowl, that's very impressive to do that on your first year.
But it's unheard of, though.
It is. So I can see them making the playoffs. I do not see them making the Super Bowl yet. They need time as a unit to get together and develop.
And right now, Denver has a better chance of going to the Super Bowl than they do. And even we don't see Denver going straight to the Super Bowl this next year.
Yes.
Yeah, we don't. Because the rest of that AFC in just that division is stacked. The AFC North is also stacked. You have Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals that just went to the Super Bowl last year.
They're finally adding some protection to them, and let's see what they
draft
on defense.
They got Lyle
Collins
from the Cowboys. That number 1 offensive line in the NFL. They got him to come over to Cincinnati. That AFC North is starting to look a lot like the AFC West, especially since the AFC West just lost Tyreek Hill. So that brought them down a couple notches.
That did bring
just as a division.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Baltimore, they were just hurt all last season. So it's just a matter of who they get on the field. And people say they're giving Lamar Jackson a tough time. Let's be honest. It was a tough year. That's all it was. It was a tough year. All quarterbacks have them. But I still believe that he can possibly make some difference for the AFC North. And I don't see them being the same team that they were last year.
No, definitely not. Baltimore has shades of greatness. They do. They have shades of greatness. It's not as often as it used to be when, say, Ray Lewis was playing on defense.
No,
but they very much are up there in the conference.
Yeah. And really quickly, before we finish this segment, I will say this about Deshaun Watson. Say what you will, but his agent just set a new standard for NFL quarterbacks.
Right.
5 years, $230 million, all guaranteed. Now, to the people who don't know much about NFL contracts out there, they are rarely fully guaranteed contracts for NFL players. This marks a new day for free agency everywhere because Deshaun Watson got this, not playing a year. What do you think Josh Allen's? Oh, not Josh Allen. He's close to getting his contract. What do you think Lamar Jackson's going to want? What do you think Joe Burrow's going to want? What do you think Justin Herbert's going to want? It's going to set the new standard, and that's one of the things. Say what you will about his legal ramifications, like we said, but this contract by itself, it is a turning point for NFL players, and I'm happy it's coming to because I believe they need to get paid every penny that they deserve.
Yeah, good quarterbacks that deserve it.
Yes.
And Joe Burrow is one of them. Justin Herbert is another one. Lamar Jackson is another one.
Yes.
So, don't give me your B named quarterbacks don't give me your B named quarterbacks that say things like, oh yeah, they deserve this money because they did this and this and this. It's like, no.
No, Kirk Cousins, he deserves to have his agent at all of his Christmas parties, at all of his vacation homes, at everything because he has received so much money for doing absolutely nothing. Now we can go on another full rant about this segment, but I feel like we should cut it off here.
All of those, just last comment.
Yeah.
His agent is going to show up to all those parties and all those vacations when they don't make the playoffs next year.
Exactly.
All right. That's my last comment on that. We'll see you in the next segment, everybody.
We'll be back.
All right, everyone, welcome back. Von Miller, who was once a Bronco, became a Ram, 2-time Super Bowl champion, and is now a Buffalo Bill in New York.
No, absolutely. Now, before we get started on this, I want everybody to know Von Miller's a Hall of Famer. I believe he's going to be a Hall of Famer. He has the numbers, and he's won the championship rings, and he's had the clutch moments and the pedigree to be a Hall of Famer, okay? Super Bowl 50, he changed the game. He impacted the game the same way that Aaron Donald impacted last year's Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Only difference is Von Miller won the Super Bowl MVP as a defensive player.
And how often does that happen?
It's very, very rare. The last time it happened was when Ray Lewis won the Super Bowl with that incredible Ravens defense in the 2000 season, but the 2001 year with the Ravens.
Just over 20 years ago?
Yes, exactly.
Just over 20
years ago. Other than that, it's mainly offensive players.
Right.
All right.
Right.
So,
Mainly quarterbacks or receivers.
yeah, very rarely running backs, but Emmitt Smith did win one back in the day.
Oh,
Smith,
that's a given.
That's a given with the Cowboys.
Right.
So, okay, so Von Miller, he's a great player. I think he's incredible. He does win everywhere he goes, but 6 years?
A 6-year contract. And it's not even the money that's a problem. Because he earned that money.
Absolutely.
He definitely earned what he's being given, but 6 years at 32 going on 33 years old on March 26th.
Here's the thing, at that position as well. Now, most people are like, well, Brady made it to 40 and whatnot. Quarterbacks are laying longer. That's a different position. The position that Von Miller plays gets hit constantly, whether it's by offensive linemen, whether it's by running backs, whether it's by tight ends chipping at him constantly. That's going to take a toll on the body. I have no problem with the money per year because he's an elite player, and that's what he commends as a pass rusher who can get there.
Exactly.
But it's just the year, 6 years. 6 years for $120 million. Even if you, let's say, lose the last year as a franchise salary cap move,
Right.
that's still 5 years. Man's going to be 38 years old.
Question is, now the question that I have for you,
Yes.
is he going to see the end of this contract, do you think?
I do not think he'll see the end of it. I honestly think at the very most 4 years of this contract will get played out,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
I agree.
Because
That's the job of a linebacker, is to tackle.
and to get hit.
Get tackled.
yes, and he's going to get double teamed. Buffalo, don't get me wrong, they're okay as a unit, except for that secondary against Kansas City that was just embarrassing. But that unit is complete and it's decent, but it's missing that pass rushing edge. And I hate to break it to Buffalo fans, he's not going to be that leading sack pass rusher that you get throughout the season. What he is, he's a situational pass rusher. When it's key third downs, Jose, in the fourth quarter, when the team's trying to lead a drive down,
Yeah.
when you need those key stops on 3rd and 7, 3rd and 10, that's where he comes in, and that's how he can make an impact play. Now,
He's a clutch player.
yes, he is.
Yeah.
He is absolutely a clutch player. He proved that in Denver, and he proved that with the Rams. Each year that he made it to the playoffs, he made a significant play that I can remember. Now, granted, the Super Bowl 50 was different than this year's Super Bowl. He made the play of the game against Cam Newton. But like I said, he made significant plays. He did sack Joe Burrow once last Super Bowl, but obviously Aaron Donald made the play of the game, and rightfully so. It is Aaron Donald's team.
It
You
is.
wouldn't expect any less of him.
I mean, hell, it's Aaron Donald's league at this point.
That's not
Defensively speaking. Yeah.
No, it is ridiculous. Now, that's just when I first heard this contract, like I have the same reaction I have now. I just can't believe the 6 years. Now, if Von Miller was, let's say, 27, 28,
5 years younger. Yeah, 5 years younger.
This would be perfect.
Man.
Yeah,
That'd be fantastic.
I'm like, this is a steal. Buffalo is getting a deal here. Like, they're getting a break. They're getting great mileage. I just don't think the production is going to meet the years of this contract. That's my main issue with this. And 20 million and averaging out to 20 million a year, that's good. Like, he's earned it. I would just, if it was me, if I was the GM, I would say 3 years. 3 years at that same price tag, so it'd be 3 years.
4 years the most.
4 years the most. 3 years. 3 years. 20 million a year, so 90 million or
90 million.
Yeah, somewhere around there. But my point is that he is a great player. He's a Hall of Famer, but he's meeting the end of his career. And I don't think he's going to play out that contract. And that has nothing to do with him. It's just the way the game is played. Specifically, as someone who's involved against the line and specifically as linebacker. Now, he's listed as a linebacker. He does drop back into coverage every once in a while to fool the defense. But he's mainly a pass rusher. And he will fit good into this scheme that Buffalo has. They do run a 3-4 defense base front. If any of you didn't hear the previous episodes, what a 3-4 defense base front is, pretty much you have 3 down linemen set up against the offensive line, and then you have 4 linebackers set up right behind them. What most teams like to do is run a 3-4 and then have their outside linebackers on the 4 linebackers set up as edge rushers. So he'll fit perfectly. He'll make his plays. But I honestly don't think the contract's years were worth that long-term investment. I understand what they're trying to do. They were that close, Jose, that close to making it to the AFC Championship.
They were.
And one could make the argument
They
might have had a chance to win the Super Bowl had they gotten past Kansas City, because they were the better, more complete team between the Rams and the Bengals. The Rams were still a mess at that point. I remember people were having their doubts about them.
They had a hell of a game against my New England Patriots. As devastated as I was, I could not be upset at all. It was a masterpiece.
It was their night.
It really was their night.
They
it was
scored
very good.
Drive.
It was very impressive to see. And my New England Patriots could not do much beyond that. They couldn't really do much to remedy the beating that they received that night. I was impressed by it. I really was. Yeah, just as a biased and at the same time impartial and realistic football fan, I have to sit here and applaud them for what they did that night.
That's my term that I love to use, realistic football fans, because you obviously root for your team, but you're more realistic about some other fans that are like, we're going to win the Super Bowl. We got this, dude. We got this, man. We're going to do it.
We're going to have a prime example of that in the next segment. An impartial, realistic football fan in Ricardo Hayase over here. Oh my good Lord. But going back to Von Miller, his base salary for this upcoming season is going to be $1.12 million. His signing bonus is $3.7 million, and his cap is 5.1, or if you want to round up, $5.2 million. So that's what you're seeing here. His cap hit, rather.
Yeah, no, that's always a very fun topic for accountants about the salary cap. But unless you're an NFL fan, the salary cap is very important because it is one of the few sports in any league that has a hard salary cap. So to the average person who may not know, a salary cap is pretty much said, you own a team. You have a set budget in which you can pay your players, and you cannot go over that budget. If you are over that budget, you have to get under it every year. The Saints are facing this right now. The Packers are currently facing it right now with their trade of Devontae Adams. Another topic we can get to at a later time, because that's just one of the more biggest trades that we saw this upcoming off season.
Yeah.
But the way it works with the salary cap is that you have a set number of money that you can pay players and you cannot go over. Now, the reason this is done is to make it fair for everyone. Because if it was the way baseball is made, it means the richest owners pay all the players. They give them all the money and you get the best players.
They do.
And if we were to do that, Stan Kroenke from the Los Angeles Rams is currently, if I remember correctly, he's the one who has the most money, so he can pay all of those Ram players as much as he wants. Will be a dime in his bucket. It won't affect him at all. And the reason this is done is to make it fair for each NFL team to have the same quality of players, to not be like, well, I can't pay that much money. Like, this is ridiculous. This is meant to help smart market teams, whether it be the Arizona Cardinals, whether it be the Green Bay Packers, whether it be, I'll say even Carolina, because I don't even think it's that big of a market. So
even Denver too.
Even Denver.
Yeah. Even Denver trading for Russell Wilson.
Yeah. So that's what cap hit means. So what pretty much the crux of this topic that we're having is that Von Miller will have a low cap hit for the first year. So they're really counting on them being able to win the next year, because each year Buffalo's getting closer and closer and closer to succeeding. Their second year with Josh Allen, when he made that tremendous improvement, They got into a playoff game. They lost to the Texans. They lost to DeShaun Watson.
Yeah, they did.
The very next year, they won a playoff game, and then they lost it, and they lost. I can't remember which team it was, but they lost it specifically. Mm-hmm. And then this year, they went toe-to-toe with the Chiefs. That's who they lost to, by the way. The year before, it was the Chiefs. They went toe-to-toe with them, and they were 13 seconds away if that secondary could actually play coverage and understand that Tyreek Hill is going to get the ball. Do not let anybody else try to make a play on you. Let someone else. Let Robinson, let Hardman, let Edwards-Helaire, let any of them make a play, but do not let Tyreek Hill make the play. And what do, Jose? They run a deep base coverage. They have no one over the middle. They let Tyreek catch the ball, run across the middle of the field, run out of bounds, get into field goal range. It is just ridiculous, and I'm sorry, as someone who loves defense, I just hated that's happening for Josh Allen, because he had a performance for the ages. So they're getting Von Miller to trust that he'll get there in time to help their secondary out.
On top of that too, since Tyreek Hill is now being traded to the Miami Dolphins, the Bills have a much better chance of getting past the Kansas City Chiefs this next year.
Without a doubt.
And the Kansas City Chiefs this next year are very much going to be challenged with their short game and their running game. They just might have to really make dramatic changes on the offensive side. They'll really have to start lining up in their I formations. Mm-hmm. They're really going to have to start playing 11-man personnel, running the ball, passing it, running the ball, passing it. They can't rely so much on the strong arm of Patrick Mahomes anymore. So now Patrick Mahomes is going to be challenged in his football IQ.
You're forgetting one key thing, Jose. Mm-hmm. Now, this is something that only specific nerds like me about football know about Andy Reid, but he has some trouble running the ball. That's one of his biggest critique when he was in Philly, is that he has trouble trying to run the ball. I'll give you an example. Mm-hmm. Third running back, when Donovan McNabb was with the Eagles, when they made that run for 5 conference championships, he was known as a catching running back. He wasn't known for running. So what I'm getting at is that Tyreek Hill was such a game changer. He created a defense that had to be used against Kansas City in order to have a chance to win this game. This was instituted by Todd Bowles with the Tampa Bay Bucks so that they could try to have a chance to win the Super Bowl. It was always have 2 safeties deep. 2 safeties or 2 cornerbacks deep. Whatever the situation, do not let Tyreek Hill get behind you. What that does is that you have one less defender to help out with the run. What did Kansas City do? They just kept passing, finding creative ways to get Tyreek the ball, finding creative short passing routes to Kelsey and all of them.
And when you have an athletic quarterback like Patrick Mahomes, it's relatively easy to do so.
It is.
But his brain hasn't been tested yet.
He has not been tested with other specific types of defenses. Thank you for bringing that up, because they're mainly facing that 2D man defense, whether it's a cover 4 defense, whether it's a shell coverage defense. Pretty much cover 4 guys is that you have 4 people going deep and split the field into quadrants, and every man is responsible for that deep zone of the field. What Patrick Mahomes is going to face is what every quarterback faces. They're back to reality. He's going to face defenses that blitz at him with man coverage, with zone coverage, and pass rushing defenses that drop some defenders back into coverage. Some linebackers come in. A safety comes in on the other side. I could go on and on and on really about defense, but the point is that Patrick Mahomes is going to be really tested here. Really tested if he is who we all think he is, or if he still needs time to develop, which is okay. It's okay to have to develop in a career. Not every quarterback's perfect. Peyton Manning wasn't perfect. Tom Brady was certainly not the quarterback he is today when he first started.
Peyton Manning, his rookie year, threw for 20-plus interceptions.
I do believe it was 26 interceptions.
He has the record
I think,
Doesn't he still hold the record?
I think Baker Mayfield tied him for that record. So if that tells you about Baker Mayfield,
what a record to tie for.
But going back to the situation at hand is that Tyreek Hill changed life. I don't like the guy personally, but this is just football.
As a player,
he changed his life for Kansas City because he is so freaking fast. That's just the best way to put it. He is so freaking fast on the field that he instituted that defense of shell coverage against Kansas City, forcing them, we dare you to run. We dare you to run. Now Kansas City has to run the ball. Would Andy Reid do it with Mahomes? I don't see them being that patient, and it's going to be a struggle for them this season, which is why I'm going with my pick for the Chargers to win the division next year with that new defense.
Oh my good Lord, especially with that defensive trio.
Yes.
Jeez Louise.
So Kansas City is going to have trouble. I don't think they're going to make it to a conference championship next year, dude. I can't see it.
If Andy Reid doesn't change his tune, and I don't see him changing his tune, I agree with you in that sense. Even when Alex Smith was the quarterback, man, they didn't really run it all that often.
Exactly.
They didn't really,
Even when they had Kareem Hunt. When Kareem Hunt was at the team before he got shipped off to Cleveland, they didn't run it, and they're going to have to be balanced as a team. Going back to what our theme of our podcast is about offenses, is that you have to be balanced to win games. And they're not going to be able to do it. They just lost Honey Badger and the defensive side, so how's their secondary going to look? We're not even going to know.
Exactly. Yeah, so, and they did get Juju. Mm-hmm. They got Smith-Schuster.
Yeah.
But he's a solid number 2. He is a very good number 2. He played a very good number 2 when Antonio Brown was still with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And we were hoping that he was going to play number 2, even a number 3 behind Kelsey and Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
And we were making this argument on the phone the other day, where if he were playing a number 3, his expectations are not very high for him to begin with, so he had a very good opportunity to exceed those expectations. So what I predict happening, a very loose prediction, don't quote me on this, is later on in the year, Smith-Schuster is not going to be performing as well as he is expected to be performing, and then they might even trade him away 2-3 years down the road.
No, absolutely.
That might be the case.
Absolutely.
But
because he's the number 1 target now.
Exactly. He's the number 1 target now.
And it's been proven when he was at the Steelers, as the number 1 target, what did he do? Instead of improving, he's making TikTok dances.
Right.
And he's making TikTok dances instead of trying to get better at his craft. And Tyreek Hill, as a player, he took that responsibility and he performed every Sunday for them. Whether he was covered, he did his job, he made life easier. And this is going to impact Kelsey too.
Right.
Because Kelsey's going to be double teamed no matter what, because there's no threat on the outside. They can run whatever defensive coordinators. I told you, Jose, earlier today, they're salivating. They are excited to face the Chiefs because they can unload the sink on them. They can run whatever they want on them. So Kansas City's going to have a tough time. People might think I'm crazy, but I don't see them making the conference championships. They can make the playoffs, but I don't see them making it that deep into the playoffs.
And as much as it hurts me to say, the New England Patriots this next year, unless they get reliable receivers, as a team in that in the division, in the AFC East, I don't see them doing too much if Buffalo continues to improve the way that they have been, because they're just phenomenal, man.
Buffalo's looking like the favorite.
They are.
They are looking like the favorite with adding Von Miller, but we'll see what happens. And I do believe the Chargers are going to give the Buffalo a run for their money. You know how I feel about Justin Herbert, and we'll see what happens. It's going to be definitely very exciting. It's going to be exciting to watch. But hey, if Mahomes proves me wrong, I'll admit it here on the podcast. I'll be like, okay, they had an incredible year, and he is ready for whatever they throw his way. So if he proves me wrong, I'll be happy to say it.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
That'd be fantastic. I know that we veered off of Von Miller quite a bit, but a lot of this stuff applies.
Yes.
A lot of the stuff that we just talked about applies. Von Miller being a part of the Bills this next year is definitely going to put the Bills in a very good position.
Yes, it is.
Especially if they continue to improve, and that's only going to affect the rest of the conference, the AFC West and the AFC North. Okay, so although Von Miller is much older, right? Had it been 5 years ago, this would have been fantastic.
That would have been Super Bowl favorites for sure.
Super Bowl favorites for sure, definitely. Yeah. However, Von Miller, you just cannot deny the age. You cannot deny getting older in the league. That's just how it is. That's life.
Yes.
So up until this point, the AFC in general looks beautiful. It looks fantastic. And I'm very excited to see what they do.
No,
and that's the last comment that I have on this segment.
No, absolutely. Von Miller, future Hall of Famer. He's going to be reliable. It's just that's the only issue I have with this is the years in the contract. 6 years. I would have made it 4 at the max. Definitely would have made it 3. But yeah, ready to move on to the next subject. I hope you guys are ready for my rant on my team, the Cardinals.
Get ready. For the last segment of episode 3 of RJ Talks, we will be talking about the Arizona Cardinals. Ricardo has been waiting all week to talk about these people. Now, before we get into that, I wanted to give a lowdown of what exactly they have done so far in this offseason, and then I'll turn it over to you, Ricardo, and you can elaborate on that. So the Cardinals, up until this point, have had to deal with trouble with Kyler Murray. We'll expand upon that.
Yep.
General manager Steve Keim and coach Cliff Kingsbury have been given contract extensions, 5 years, all the way up to 2027. Jordan Hicks, their leading defensive tackle, has been traded to which team?
I don't remember specifically which team. I do remember that they cut him specifically.
Oh, they released them.
They released him.
Okay, so they released
They
him.
released him, and he's linebacker. He's the leading
linebacker.
He's the leading tackler on the defensive team.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So scratch that. Jordan Hicks, the leading linebacker for the Arizona Cardinals, has been released from the team. And lastly, they signed Nick Vigil from the Minnesota Vikings. Ricardo, let me ask you this:
Yes,
are the Arizona Cardinals going to have to hold a vigil to pray that they don't lose so terribly next season?
Oh, without a doubt. Where to begin? Now, I want everyone to understand me, where I'm coming from, because I'm going to get emotional because it's my team. But let me set this up for you guys. I was a football fan. I started my first football game was the Super Bowl 42 game, Giants versus Patriots, the undefeated Patriots, okay? And I made a decision. I had to follow a team. So being that I'm from Arizona, I want to support my team because it's from my home state. I went with the Cardinals. They did something that not done in their franchise, so they didn't understand that it was this common. They went to the Super Bowl, lost the heartbreaker to the Pittsburgh Steelers. I still remember the game to this day, watching it in person and seeing everything that happened. It still breaks my heart. So I naturally, as a young fan, thought like, okay, so this is a good team that's going to follow sustained success. Next year, they beat the Packers in a wild game.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah,
Larry Fitzgerald was the star of that game.
Yes, and they won in overtime in that game, and they made it to the Saints. I'm like, okay, they got blown out, but at least the Saints were the Super Bowl champions that year. Can't get mad at that. I'm like, okay, they lost to the champs. Fair. Followed by years of mediocrity on the team, with the lone exception of the Hall of Fame Larry Fitzgerald, who was a first ballot wide receiver. So mediocrity followed. Now I'll give the ownership credit here. 2012, 2013, they cleaned house after 2012 season. After they lost to the Seahawks 56-0. I still remember that game consistently. They cleared house, they got Arians, they got Steve Keim, and they went on their run. They made the playoffs several times. They made it to the NFC Championship, but still fell short. Still got blown out.
Yeah.
With that being said,
That was against the Panthers, right?
yes, it was against the Panthers. With that being said, this team is pathetic. They have constantly failed to live up to expectations and to win. They drafted Kyler Murray. Keim, because they messed up with Steve Wilkes and Josh Rosen, instead of letting Josh Rosen develop, he drafted Kyler Murray and hired the man that leads the show, Cliff Kingsbury. So the people who don't know, he was a coach who had a losing record in college. I don't know about you guys, but I don't hear much coaches that get hired that have losing records in college.
As a head coach.
As a head coach, and it's even worse. He had Patrick Mahomes as his quarterback in college and had a losing record. I can go on and on about that, but I need to keep things concise. I need to keep things moving. He got hired as the head coach to coach Kyler Murray. Now, I remember I talked to you about this when they drafted this guy. I didn't have faith because he's small. He is dynamic. He can move, but he is a small man. And with that come injuries. So, with this being said, that Rams playoff game to end this season leading to this offseason has to be the worst performance I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Not worse than the 56-0 loss to the Seahawks, because they have the talent to be better. They had the talent to compete. Leading the season, they had the talent and the potential to lead a deep playoff run. I'm going to be optimistic. Okay, maybe they don't win the Super Bowl, but maybe they're in the NFC Conference Championship at least. Get deep to that level. But no, they wet the bed. I watched this game live. They got down 7-0. I'm like, okay, we'll see. What do I see happen next? A coach who doesn't understand what he's doing with his offensive scheme, because as soon as DeAndre Hopkins is out, the whole season's over, Jose. When D-Hop gets hurt, the whole season's over. I don't know how to adjust the scheme. I'm a professional head coach in this league. I do not know how to make adjustments. Okay? So I see a coach that has no idea what he's doing. I see a quarterback that is scared of the moment, deer in headlights, get rid of it, throws a 3-yard pick six. He made the jokes for us. He threw the shortest pick six in NFL history from one of the shortest men in the league. So that has to be the worst performance I had seen them do in the playoffs, because it was on national television. It was the only game on for the playoffs. Okay? So they ended up losing 34-11. I turned off the game when they were losing 21-0. When they scored 28-0, I turned off the game. It was still second half. I left it. I'm like, I'm not going to subject myself to this mediocrity and this sadness that this team in the state that it is in. Since they lost that playoff game, you would think we're embarrassed. We're embarrassed. 2 years in a row, we had the chance. We lead the league with our record. We have the chance to possibly go to greatness and to possibly get a playoff run. But we wet the bed this year before, lose the remaining games, and don't make the playoffs. We limp into the playoffs, losing to the Lions. One of the last season to the Lions. One of their few wins. To the people who don't know, the Lions have one of the top 5 picks in the draft, which means they're a pretty bad team overall. I don't blame them. I don't say they're the worst team. They just had some bad luck. But the point still stands. When you're trying to make a deep playoff run, you cannot lose to that team. I don't care if it's on the road. I don't care if D-Hop is hurt. I don't care if AJ Green isn't there. As a quarterback in the NFL, you are paid to overcome. Which leads me to my next situation about getting paid. What does our franchise quarterback do after wetting the bed on national television? Does he try to get better by improving his throwing stance? Does he try to get better by looking at what he did wrong, specifically stats-wise? And does he try to get better at that? Oh, no. He decides to be a petulant child and delete all of his pictures off his Instagram like he just wants to break up with some girl like he's in high school. This is an NFL quarterback leading a franchise. This is not college. He deletes those pictures, and what does he have to say? Oh, I want to be the leader of the Arizona Cardinals franchise. I want to win a Super Bowl for them. I want to make sure that I'm the long-term leader. But yes.
Only if I get paid.
Only if I get paid for doing nothing. I won Offensive Rookie of the Year, so I think I'm entitled to something, Jose. I've won a couple games here and there. I was selected as a Pro Bowler based on name, not merit. He did not deserve to be in that Pro Bowl this year. He wet the bed. He got hurt for 4 games. It should have been another player. I forgot the other quarterbacks that were there, but he did not deserve to be. Oh, yeah. It was Matthew Stafford who didn't make the Pro Bowl. Matthew Stafford deserved to take
Super Bowl champ.
Super Bowl champ, Matthew Stafford, who actually led his team to greatness. And what happens throughout this entire offseason shenanigans by Kyler Murray? He has the same agent as his head coach does, Jose. That's unheard of in the NFL, when a head coach and a player have the same agent. And what ends up happening because of Kyler Murray's little tantrum? Steve Keim and Cliff Kingsbury get extensions which they do not deserve by a long shot for 5 years. And what happens afterwards? Oh, he puts on the pictures back on Instagram. Everything's fine. I'm not worried about the future with the team. Things are going to go great. Like, we got this. This quarterback wants to defend this man of mediocrity and stick with them. So I'll leave him to go to it. Great for you, but it's not going to lead to any kind of success at all. Now, to make a point, when Deandre Hopkins was traded to the team, you know I was excited. I love me some D-Hop.
Oh, he's great.
I love me some D-Hop. He has great stats as far as how he's doing with average, know-nothing quarterbacks. Let me just give you an example of his year with the Cardinals. He has had high touchdown marks with the team. What are his stats with the Cardinals? I'll go for 2020 because he got hurt midway through the season. He has 1,400 receiving yards, not bad, but 6 touchdown catches. 6 as a number 1 receiver. 6 when it's average that your number 1 receiver gets double-digit touchdowns. I am not blaming this at all DeAndre Hopkins. I am blaming this on the offensive scheme by the incompetent Cliff Kingsbury and the underperformance of Kyler Murray. You have the best receiver in the league, and that's what you do with him? You don't help him create easy passes. You just do the Hail Murray, where he has to literally jump over 3 guys, snatch the ball with his big alien hands, and that's how he makes touchdowns for himself. That's just unexcusable.
Even this past year, he had 8 receiving touchdowns. And he's supposedly the number 1 target.
And a coach who got hired because he was going to be the next big thing. He was going to be the next Sean McVay. He was going to lead the team into the light, man. He is going to be the next great thing.
With losing records in college.
Yes, with losing records in college for 6 years. I just want to reiterate to you guys, he got hired to be an offensive coordinator in college again. Earn his keep back before he's a head coach in college.
Right.
What does Steve Keim do? Oh, that's the guy I want leading my team. That's the guy who's going to lead the Kyler Murray into the light. I'm going to hire him as my NFL head coach. And what has he done for us? Start off hot, but choke down the stretch when people catch up to what he's doing. So, he is an incompetent coach. If I had my way, Jose, if I'm Michael Bidwell, and I have control of the franchise, I start over from scratch. Because you have shown me that you guys don't care about winning. You have shown me that when the spotlight gets brightest, you do not deserve to win again, to lead this team. Kyler Murray, okay, I'll help it. I would say like, okay, I'll help you get a new coach and help you develop. Actually teach you some things about being a quarterback,
And
you know?
at that point, it's a second chance.
Yes.
It's a second chance.
But because he's pulling this little stunt to keep Kingsbury, you go with them. See which teams will take you. I would start over. I would fire Keim as far as a GM. He started off good. Drafting Tyrann Mathieu. Getting some of those players. Getting Chandler Jones from the Patriots. But what does he lead to this season? I don't want to sign Chandler Jones. I'll release my leading tackler, Jordan Hicks. I'm going to get Nick Vigil when Bobby Wagner, Hall of Famer, is out there. If I'm Keim, I'm like, hey, you want to get back at your old team, face them twice a year? What do you want? What do you want for money? Do you want a 1-year deal or a 2-year deal? Because he's just that great.
And you understand that a lot of the time when you're trying to pick up a player, it's very expensive, especially if it's somebody of Bobby Wagner's talent and caliber. But the thing is that you pay the price for greatness. Look at what Denver had to give up to get Russell Wilson.
Exactly, dude.
They gave up 7 or 8 players.
Look at the Rams. They don't have first or second round picks for the next 3 years because they went all in to win a Super Bowl, and it worked out.
They did exactly that.
And no one cares now because you won the Super Bowl.
Right.
So
what's a few more $1 million for somebody like Bobby Wagner?
Yes.
Who you probably don't even have to trade anything for because he's released. He's a free agent.
Yes. He will cost you nothing in the long run. You don't have to give up picks. You just have to tell him, hey, what's your price? What do you want, man? You want 12 million? You want 15? I'll be realistic. You want 18 million? Okay. You want 20? How many years? 2 years? Okay, I'll guarantee 2/3 of that. Oh no? Okay, I'll guarantee the whole money. Come play for us.
They would practically write him a blank check.
Seriously.
And the thing about it is that when you're looking for somebody like Bobby Wagner, no price is too steep, or at least you would think that no price is too steep for somebody like that. It's not like draft capital is on the line.
No.
Draft capital is not on the line.
No.
The guy is a free agent, and all he wants is money. And that's what you should offer him if you want to build up your defense.
Well, but not Keim, though. He hires a rotational starter from the Vikings who played from Cincinnati, who his claim to fame is that he got juked so bad by Lamar Jackson when he was with the Bengals.
And when was the last time that Minnesota's defense was anything to even mention?
2017, when they were making a run to the postseason. So, all this being said, is just us Cardinal fans, man. If anyone's here listening to me as a Cardinal fan, it's going to be a long couple years because Bidwell apparently doesn't have a spine to be an owner and be like, this is not how my team's going to run. I make the decisions. I decide what's going to happen. You're the player. You're going to play with whoever I hire to go with you. Oh, no, stay, Kyler. It's okay. What you'll hire? Okay, you want me to do this? Okay, I'll clean your car for you. I'll do all this stuff for you. No, Bidwell is not showing any semblance of a spine when it comes to these people. And guys, I get it. Like, they're grown adult men who have families on the line. They have stuff they need to do, but I'm holding this franchise to the standard of we want to win a Super Bowl. We want to win a championship, Jose. And there have been coaches and executives who have been fired for less. Like, they've shown me enough. I've seen enough as far as what they want to do. And if they're struggling like this now, man, they started the season 7-0. 7-0. With, okay, they might have a chance to win the Super Bowl. You and I both know it is hard to win in this league. So what's going to happen when they lose 3 games in a row?
Right.
When they lose 2 games in a row? Mm-hmm. When they go 2-3? It's just going to get worse and worse, and it won't get fixed until the issue is addressed. The heads of the snake of the 3 most important pieces in a franchise. That is the general manager, the head coach, and the quarterback. All 3 need to go, man. People might say, oh, you're being emotional from last offseason. I am not. I have not seen anything that's shown me they are willing to do whatever it takes to win the game.
Because you're mentioning history. It's not like this is just a completely new complaint, or not even a complaint. This isn't a completely new rant that has come out of nowhere.
No.
You've been mentioning this for the past 5-6 years.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
back when Arizona drafted Josh Rosen, you were so excited about that. I remember I was there with you when you were watching the draft. They drafted Josh Rosen. You were the happiest guy ever.
A pocket passer.
Yeah, a pocket passer that could actually sit, wait, and do what he had to do. But the thing is that they gave him no time to develop, as you mentioned. After his first year, he was out of there.
Yep.
They didn't even do that to Zach Wilson this past year. The Jets didn't even do that to Zach Wilson, and he played worse than what Josh Rosen did in his first year.
Yes, because Rosen, say what you want about him, the man tried, and his stats, yes, were horrendous, but he tried to do the best with what he was given, and that's what ended up happening. And I've just seen too many examples of this team flaming out at the end when things matter. They've become the laughing stock of the league. Oh, the Cardinals are winning this season. Okay, it must be October. It's not January. It must be October. Okay, give it another season. Wait until Thanksgiving. Let's see how they do when the season comes online. And I've heard the same excuse for Kyler for these past 3 years with him. Oh, well, they were great. Kyler's doing great. But he got hurt. I'm just like, just gonna have to accept it. There's some players that just get hurt. It happens. They're gonna miss time, and he's one of them. I've seen evidence of this for the past 3 years. He starts off hot, he gets dinged by a little hit, and he's not the same. He is not the same player. And Kyler, people say, "Oh, well, you want him to play on another team?" Yes, have his luck with another team. Let's see how he plays when he's under pressure. Let's see how he does, because when a quarterback has his worst performance, they should be motivated, angry to do better. Lamar Jackson, I'll give you an example. he has a shirt that says, "Nobody cares, work harder." Or the season where he won the NFL MVP, he's like, "Not bad for a running back, huh?" He remembers all those trials and tribulations that he had to face, and he pushed it forward in his work, man. He decided to work hard and to push through. What does my guy want? He wants a contract.
He wants money.
And if the MLB wasn't on strike, man, I wouldn't have doubted. He's like, "I'm gonna leave to baseball if you don't do what I want you to do." I don't doubt it for 1 second.
Don't put it past him.
Yeah.
Well, what's very interesting to see is a quarterback like Joe Burrow, for example, who takes the hits. He's taken as many sacks as any quarterback could in the history of the NFL, as far as I'm concerned. And what has he done? He took the Cincinnati Bengals to the Super Bowl for the first time since 1988.
He got sacked against the Titans 9 times. Did you once see him mope and complain on the sideline or throw his helmet on the ground? No. He just sat back down. Wasn't happy, but he just sat back down waiting his chance.
How hard is it for any other quarterback to take 9 sacks in a game and come back with the veracity that
when
he
you
showed?
take 9 sacks in a game, Jose, you're on the other end of a blowout. When you take 5 sacks in a game, you're usually on the end of a blowout, about to lose that game. You don't win a game, and when you get sacked that amount of times. And Joe Burrow, he's able to...
Joe Cool the second?
He's able to push through, man, and be an actual franchise quarterback. Not a petulant child that throws his helmet on the sideline and stares, looking down on the ground, but has his...
Eating his candy on the sideline.
Yeah, and has his stupid Bruce Lee socks and does his Bruce Lee celebration because, I'm like water. Be like water, my friend. Except when I get hit and when I get hurt. I'm not like water. I'm a little baby, and I want to get paid like...
Right.
It's just...
He's left paddling in the water.
Yes.
After that.
With all of it being said, I love the Arizona Cardinals to my heart. I don't know why. It has to be with Larry Fitzgerald, who was my main influence with the team. But as we said earlier in the podcast, I'm a realistic fan, and I have realistic expectations for this team. And this team was trying to win me over. When they beat Cleveland, I'm like, Cleveland is a complete team. They have a chance to do it. And right on schedule, things fell apart. J.J. Watt got hurt. They lost to the Packers that one game at the last second, and Kyler Murray gets hurt. Yep. DeAndre Hopkins got hurt. And what does my coach do instead of coaching? Looks at his clipboard, looks at the scoreboard, looks up and down, and just tries to run 4 verticals the entire game. So the people who don't know what 4 verticals means is that you have your 4 receivers run deep. Instead of trying
just complete go routes.
Yeah.
And a go route is literally just straight down the field. When you're playing just a normal game of catch in football and you tell somebody to go long, that's what it means.
Just go
literally
straight.
Just run straight as fast as you possibly can, and your quarterback bombs it down the field and just prays to God that it gets down to you.
Seriously. And like my coach doesn't do anything. There's nothing to be excited about next season. I will be happy when all 3 are gone. Not 1, not 2, but all 3. Because Kyler has shown me what kind of quarterback he wants to be in this league, and he wants to cry and complain and just get paid. Okay.
Kingsbury.
So be it. You can get Kingsbury, he has no idea what he's doing. I think you and I could do a better job of calling offensive schemes and plays. For goodness sake, man, when they won Cleveland, their best win of the year, it wasn't him calling the plays. It wasn't the offensive coordinator calling the plays. It was the quarterback's coach, an assistant coach calling those plays and making that team move down the field like clockwork. If that doesn't say about you as a head coach, I don't know what does. Because if your assistant coach can blow out a team like that, you should be flying up and down the field as a head coach. You should know what to do and move up and down the field and go forward. Not when teams adjust, we're going to do what we do best. We're going to have D-Hop run. If he's double covered, just toss it up to him. Let's hope he gets it, and we'll see what happens. And Kyler, you just run around. If you get sacked, we'll just keep going like that. No sense of offense, no sense of doing. And the one diamond in the Russ, James Conner, he scored 19 touchdowns last year. And it was all for naught because the coach didn't know how to use him properly. He would try to run pass plays when they were inside the 5-yard line, when it's opposed to just handing it off to James Conner. Let him score. And after the 3rd and goal, James Conner would come up with a magnificent play just to score. It's just, Guys, I have another hour of what I could speak about these Arizona Cardinals, but I just want to make sure we have enough time for everything. Once again, the offseason has gone horribly. Worse than I could have imagined. Because I thought at least they were all on the same page. They are not on the same page, and that is what's caused me to lose my faith in this team for this season. I will happily root for them again when they decide to make a change, and we'll see what happens.
Some pretty realistic and borderline harsh words for your franchise, but it seems that it definitely is warranted when taking into account the decisions that they have made as of late.
Yes. Yes, it is.
So before we end the show, I just wanted to give a few updates. We are currently working on getting this podcast on Spotify. As soon as that happens, we will definitely let you know. We just need to work on getting a certain RSS feed in order to do so. We'll give you some regular updates on that as the weeks come. Next is a shout out to a very special friend of ours, Luis Andres, for sharing our content and upping the analytics for our show. Thank you so much for that, brother. Appreciate you.
Appreciate you, Luis.
Yeah. And next week, our episode 4 is going to be released on a regular day. It should be next Wednesday.
Yes, I will.
In the morning or early afternoon. So stay tuned for that. Guys, as usual, thank you so much for tuning into RJ Talks, and we will definitely see you next week.
If you guys take the time to, please, we appreciate it if you could just either like or subscribe. It's always appreciated. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch us. Once again, we're just two regular guys having some fun doing this, but I appreciate you guys listening to us.
Yeah, thanks a lot. All right, we'll see you next week.